I love seeing small businesses succeed, and I believe that success is a journey, not a destination. Think of this podcast as your weekly dose of inspiration, empowerment, and actionable insights. We're all about turning your one-day dream into a right-now dream. If you're ready to create the life you have always wanted, you're in the right place. Let's discover your unique talents and forge your path to success. It's not just about chasing goals, it's about embracing the journey and building a life that you love. Each week, I'll bring you conversations with experts on marketing, business, and a plethora of other topics that align with who you want to become. Whether you're an entrepreneur, creative, or simply someone on a mission, my goal is to provide you with the tools, stories, and a mindset shift to help you thrive. Buckle up, get ready to dig deep. Let's turn those dreams into gold. This is the Aurum Collective Podcast. Hey, y'all, and welcome back to the show. First, I need to apologize for the delay in this episode. My family and I came down with a terrible cold that left us with no voices and terrible coughs that honestly is still hanging around. So I will try not cough during this. But in all honesty, you guys, that is kind of how things roll and how I want this show to go. I want all of you to know that real life happens behind this microphone. I get sick. I have kids that need me and they get sick. I run multiple businesses. And sometimes the show will take a pause. But also at the same time, the show is super important to me and you guys are really important to me. So today's topic really fits in so timely because today we're diving into the topic of habits and the role that they play in amplifying our influence and our effectiveness, not only as entrepreneurs, but as people. As human beings, we all want to make a bigger impact, right? Whether it's in our careers or our communities, our families, we want to see big things happen. We want to have big influence. But what I see often, what separates those of us who make a big difference from those who don't, is not a lack of talent or of luck or of hard work, but it's a lack of habits that we cultivate. Today, I'm really excited to talk about habits and why they are the key to our greatest impact. First, I want you to think about where you want to have impact, where you want to have influence. Maybe you already have influence and you want to steward that well. I want you to right now write it down. Pause this podcast. I want you to write down and keep it in your back pocket. We're going to come back to that one thing, that one area, or maybe it's a couple. So I want you to write those down where you want to have impact and influence. And we're going to come back to that later. So let's talk about the power of habit. First, let's talk about why habits are so powerful. Habits are the routines and the practices that we do almost automatically. They're habitual. It's in the name. They shape our daily lives, and over time, our habits define our successes, and they also define our failures. Have you heard the saying, how you spend your days is how you spend your life? Isn't that so true? That is how you live every moment of every day. That's what it's going to be in 20 years. The way you spend your moments is how you spend your life. You will likely be doing the same exact thing in 20 years that you are doing right now because that's the rut that you have made. I call it a rut because that's what a habit is. It's really deep and it's hard to get out of a rut. So what do I mean when I say rut? James Clear in his book, Atomic Habits, if you haven't read it, I highly, highly recommend you do. He uses the metaphor of habits as paths or grooves that our brain follows repeatedly, much like a rut in a road. These ruts can lead us towards positive behaviors if our habits are beneficial, or towards negative outcomes that if our habits are harmful. Recognizing the power of these habitual ruts, they can help us reshape our lives to better serve our goals and where we actually want to see ourselves in 20 years. Not only where we want to see ourselves in 20 years, but that area of influence, that area of impact that you wrote down. Maybe it's not in 20 years. Maybe it's next week. Maybe it's somewhere, again, where you already have influence and impact. Okay, now I want you to imagine that you are the captain of a ship setting sail from San Francisco and you're aiming to reach Tokyo. At the start of your journey, your navigation system is off by just 1 degree. It might seem insignificant at first, just a tiny deviation, but let's see what happens as you travel. For every mile that your ship travels, that 1 degree error causes the ship to veer slightly off course. Initially, you might not even notice the difference, but over time, that small error compounds. After just 100 miles, the ship would be off course by over a mile. Extend that to the entire distance from San Francisco to Tokyo, which is roughly 5,500 miles. Your ship would miss your destination by almost 100 miles. Okay, so that's a silly analogy, but it perfectly illustrates the impact of small deviations over time. Just like the ship, if our habits are slightly off course, they might not seem problematic in the short term. However, as days and weeks and months and years go by, those small, seemingly insignificant habits can lead us far from our intended goal. But the opposite is also true and is so encouraging to me. Because if you think about it in the opposite, that a really small, seemingly insignificant change can lead to huge changes for the positive in your life. So, making a slight positive adjustment to your habits can set you on a trajectory towards achieving a huge goal and doing it more effectively. So, just like a captain would correct the course of the ship to ensure it reaches the right destination, we too need to have a regular assessment so that we can adjust our life, adjust our habits to stay on track towards our goals. Are you drowning in client tasks? From contracts to communication, keeping up can be overwhelming. But fear not. I'm here to introduce you to HoneyBook, the ultimate solution for managing your business seamlessly. Say goodbye to stress and hello to streamlined workflows. With HoneyBook CRM, handling contracts, payments, and client services has never been easier. Join me and countless others who've discovered the power of efficiency. Ready to take the leap? Head to share.honeybook.com/Aurum and use code Aurum for an incredible 50% off for an entire year. That's right, half off for 12 whole months. Trust me, this is a game changer you won't regret. Visit share.honeybook.com/Aurum and enter the code Aurum, that's AURUM, for your exclusive Aurum offer. Let's get practical, because I know we can talk about things like this all day long. But if we don't put what we say and what we talk about into action, then really, what is the point of all of this? We can listen to a million podcasts, read a million books, and never apply it to our life. So there would be no point. So let's think of some simple steps. I'm going to share some of them that have helped me create better habits that really, truly, I'm not just saying this, have changed mine and my family's life. So the first one is start by identifying the habits that will most significantly impact your life. For example, if you want to be healthier, the habit of working out 3 days a week and planning your meals out in advance is going to be critical to reach that goal. So, for example, I work out 4 days a week. So about 6 months ago, I noticed my workouts were being put on the back burner. Something was always coming up. The kids had something that they had to do, work things, yada, yada, yada. There was always something that was coming up and I wasn't getting it in. So to solve that problem, I had to start a new habit. I needed to get up earlier, like 5:15 a.m. early. This girl does not like to wake up, so it's a habit I have had to create. So if I'm going to do that, what needed to happen? One, I needed to go to bed earlier. So Aaron, my husband, and I tried to be in bed by 8:30 with a cup of tea and a book. Good sleep hygiene is crucial for, again, this non-morning girl to get going at 5:15 a.m. Two, simple things like picking out a workout the night before, setting out my workout clothes. All of these things help to create that rut in your brain that this is something I do. Accountability is key. I will say, if I did not have Aaron to help get me up in the morning, it would be much harder for me to do it. So find yourself someone that's going to hold you accountable to the habit that you are trying to create. Start small. You guys, do not try to overhaul your entire life overnight. It will not work, and you will end up being so defeated and feeling like you have failed. So instead, focus on making tiny, manageable changes, just like we talked about with the ship. Small, manageable changes will keep you on track to the goal you want. So, for example, if you want to read more, start with just reading 10 minutes a day. Don't feel like you have to read an entire book in a week. Set a goal that you are going to read 12 books this year, 1 book a month. My goal for this year was to read 24 books. That's 2 books a month. And I am on track. And you know why? Because I simply read every night for just a few minutes sometimes. Y'all remember that was one of the things that helped my other habit of getting up early to work out, is to get in bed, have a cup of tea, and read. So it's also helping another one of my habits. Number 3, consistency over intensity. I know we hear it all the time, consistency, consistency, consistency. It is. It's truly more important than the intensity at which you are starting this habit. It's better to spend time reading your Bible for 5 minutes every day than to do it for an hour only once a week. Consistent habits build those ruts or pathways in your brain, and the more you do them, the more they become ingrained and they become what you will easily do. And the more you do them, the more easily you do them again and again. And so the cycle continues. Number 4 is use triggers. Triggers are something that help inform your brain that it is time to do the thing you set out to do. Like, for instance, a trigger can be after I work out, I will stretch, or after I brush my teeth, I will floss. Get it? Triggers. One thing leads to another. Number 5, adjust and adapt. Do not be afraid to tweak your habits as needed. Life will happen. Kind of like the last 2 weeks for me. I have been sick. I did not work out for 2 weeks. And for those 2 weeks, my habits needed to change. I needed to be flexible with myself and willing to adjust my approach to how things were working out. Again, think about that quote. How you spend your days is how you spend your life. It's not about, oh, I got sick for 2 weeks. That is not going to completely throw you off track because you have those ruts that you have created, those pathways for your brain. But be flexible when you get sick and you cannot do it. It's okay to adapt to those things. Are you tired of wading through legal jargon, hoping your company contracts are legally sound? Say goodbye to the stress of what if and hello to Creative Law Shop contracts. We use Creative Law Shop's simple templates for our businesses. They are specifically tailored for creative entrepreneurs. Creative Law Shop provides the legal documents you need to succeed, from client contracts to operating agreements and everything in between. Creative Law Shop has what you are looking for. Don't let legal worries hold you back from turning your one-day dream into a right-now dream. Head over to shopcreativelaw.com. Enter code AURUM10 at checkout for 10% off. That's shopcreativelaw.com, code AURUM10 for 10% off. Let's talk real life examples. I already shared my working out and my bedtime habits. Another habit is my good morning habit that if you follow me on Instagram, then you have seen that every morning after breakfast with Aaron, he leaves for work. And if I'm lucky, my kids are not up yet, but either way, I will sit down with my Bible and my journal and I read for about 30 minutes. Sometimes, again, I'm surrounded by small people and sometimes it's peaceful. Either way, it is a rut that I stay in because it is a habit that makes me better. It makes me a better mom, a better wife, a better business owner. It is a rut and a habit that is good for me to be in every day, no matter what the circumstances are. Another one that we have tried to create is Aaron and I really wanted to make the habit of praying together, and it just was not happening. We kept forgetting, or it just was not fitting into our schedule the way we had hoped it would. You know, you hope it will be easy and it will just happen, but it wasn't. So we decided to habit stack. We were already in the habit of Aaron reading to us both at night. We're currently reading The Cost of Discipleship by Dietrich Bonhoeffer. Then right after we get done reading, we pray together. It's now a habit. It's a rut that is ingrained. We do it automatically. It's already built into something else that we were doing consistently. So highly recommend habit stacking if you can. Another habit that we wanted to put into practice in our life is Sabbath, or resting one day a week from work. On this day, we play, we rest, we read, we do not work, we don't clean. We honestly just remember that the world will continue without us. We don't have to be there to make sure everything goes according to plan. We can rest. But how did we get to the point where this was a habit? Well, first, we made it a priority. We write it on the calendar at the start of every month. We don't make plans for those days. And most importantly, we prepare. Habits don't just fall into your lap and you start consistently doing them. We have to plan for habits. Like we've been talking about, you have to create those ruts in your brain, those pathways to follow. So how do we start Sabbathing? We prepare. We prepare all week, and especially the day before Sabbath. We prepare our food. We finish all of our chores. We clean the house. We make everything ready, whatever we need to do so the next day is restful. A lot of times that's making sure our meals are prepped, making sure that there's not a big, huge basket of laundry to be folded. Sometimes not everything gets done before Sabbath, and honestly, I will shove that basket of laundry into the closet, and that's okay too. We still need to Sabbath even if there are things to get done. There are always things that will need to get done. What happens on Sabbath? We rest. We turn off our screens. We don't get on our phones. We don't get on email. We don't work. We enjoy one another. It's a day that our family looks forward to every week. We do some fun things like we make pancakes every Sabbath for our breakfast, and we make nachos for lunch after church. And we just do things that are easy, they're habitual, and they become things that we love. The biggest thing about Sabbath that has changed our life is just truly realizing the humbling fact that we cannot work all day, every day. We can't do it. We are not made to go 100 miles an hour all the time. I think the biggest thing for me is realizing that work can wait 24 hours. Emails can be gotten back to in 24 hours. It is not critical. I have to remind myself all the time that it's not life and death. I own a wedding venue. Like, it can wait, and that helps my anxiety to release, to remember that I don't have to work 24/7. I don't have to be available 24/7 to our couples or to my clients. I can rest and I can spend time with my family, and that's really, really important and really healthy. Okay, now here's a habit that I really want to start. It's one that I've been working on, and it's a mix of a bad habit that I need to break and a good habit that I need to start. So we got to get out of a bad rut and into a good rut. So my phone is a big distraction that I know keeps me from being on task with my work and present with my kids and my family. So I have been trying to make a good habit of treating my phone like a landline. I leave it in what we call our phone box. It's a pretty little white box that sits on a shelf in our dining room, and it lives there unless I need it. I'm still working on this. I am not fully successful at this right now. I will be very honest with you that it has been ingrained in me that I just need to have my phone with me. I need to be able to be gotten a hold of, yada, yada. And it can also be an escape. And I think maybe other moms can relate to this, that sometimes your phone can be an escape to the monotony or the mundane tasks of the day, or so it can easily become that. So I am working really hard to create these habits of not always having my phone with me. What helps that is having accountability, someone that asks me how it's going. I also set limits on my phone that I follow. We all need help in every season of life, so you have to ask for it. On that note, Aaron and I also have a bedtime for our phones. We put our phones in that same box I talked about at night. They don't sleep on our bedside tables. We don't need to have access to them while we're sleeping. They don't need to be right by our heads. It doesn't need to be the last thing that we look at before we go to sleep. We want to interact with each other, not our phones, as we're getting ready to go to sleep. This is another habit, again, that has helped reinforce other habits like reading, praying together at night, which also leads to us going to bed at a better time, and alas, getting up at 5:15 to work out. So it's cyclical. It helps in a lot of areas when you start to stack good habits. So how do we wrap this all up? Get that paper out of your back pocket and read it out loud. If you want to have a bigger influence in that area, if you want to look back in 20 years on a life that stayed the course, reaching its destination, you need to cultivate better habits. Remember, small changes, staying consistent, and being willing to adapt. You are going to build a foundation for exactly that. You will amplify your influence and effectiveness in that area that you wrote down. I have zero doubt about it. You're going to do it. If you want to talk it out, if you want to chat about these things, I love to talk about goals. I love to talk about how you can attain those goals. I love talking about habits. I love talking about the habits that we've implemented in our life and how I can maybe help you implement those. Head over to Instagram and send me a quick DM. I love just to brainstorm these things, and I love seeing you and your business and your ideas and your dreams succeed. So I hope today's topic was helpful and that you're inspired to start building better habits. Again, hop over and let me know what some of your habits are that you are working on. I would love to be inspired by your habits, and hopefully you can be inspired by mine and our communities as well. If you enjoyed this episode, it would mean the world to me if you would subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who might benefit from it. I think you just became a better version of you. You finished another episode of the Aurum Collective podcast, and it shows. If you want more, head over to aurumcollective.com for show notes and discount codes from today's episode. If you want to keep the conversation rolling, join our community on Instagram and Facebook. All the details are at aurumcollective.com. Until next time, keep making your one-day dream a right now dream.